I don't blame you. Damn good deal. And that purty little nest you feathered for yourself, that's worth certain considerations. But I do have one question. When you get to your little place out on Nantucket Island, I imagine you're going to have to take off that handsome-looking SS uniform of yours, ain't ya? That's what I thought. Now that I can't abide. How about you, Yusuf? Can you abide it? I mean, if I had my way, you'd be wearing that goddamn uniform for the rest of your pecker-sucking life. But I'm aware that ain't practical. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to take it off. So I'm going to give you a little something you can't take off. You know something, Yunovich? I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Stop filleting yourself, Tarantino, through Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards.
That's it. Filleting myself, huh?
Oh, well, I mean, this might be my masterpiece.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
You want me to capture the feeling? Spirit to something. I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 8 of the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
We are back from a long break, and in this episode we are introducing Joey to the quirky world of Wes Anderson with his sophomore film Rushmore from 1998. Plus, I'll be dragging Joey through the frozen hell of Russia to talk about this very chilly epic war romance, Doctor Zhivago from 1965, directed by David Lean.
And heads up, we do discuss all of our full thoughts on the film. So if you haven't seen a movie, please skip forward to avoid any spoilers.
And we'd love to hear from you. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification, and comment. Those are always welcome, and we'll read them on the show if we get them. So, long time no talk. I want to tell the folks about some of the changes going on with you.
Well, yeah. So basically, what originally started was we both just went on vacation.
Yep.
I took vacation and saw my kid, and then you and your family went on vacation, and we had planned to come back after just a few weeks. And then my job went to shit, essentially, more so than it already was. We went back to pre-COVID hours, which meant just a lot more BS and things of that nature. And I decided I needed to take a little bit of a break because I just didn't have it in me to keep watching specific movies in a specific time frame. But then I quit that job and I got a new job, which I start this coming Monday. I've actually been off all of this week. So,
Nice.
yes. So hopefully we will be able to keep a more regular schedule.
Very cool. So, doing anything fun this summer, or has it just been all work?
It's been work for the most part. I mean, I've been trying to get this other channel up off the ground for Magic the Gathering with a couple of friends of mine, and just all sorts of like audio, visual technical difficulties, mostly video technical difficulties. So we're going to see how that progresses going forward. But outside of that, it's pretty much just been a lot of work, other than, my kid came down at the start of the summer and we hung out, and I took her shopping a little bit, but outside of that, no, it's just been all work, no play makes Joey a dull boy.
Oh, know how that goes. Yep, busy summer over here. Yeah, like you mentioned, we went on did the vacation thing. Went down to Orlando, went to some Magic Kingdom and SeaWorld and Universal Studios. So that was quite a good time doing the roller coasters with kids, dealing with the in-laws as well. We actually, the week before that, we did a day camp, and like a stomach bug hit the camp. And like one day, like half the campers were out, and that ended up unfortunately followed us to Orlando. Gannon got sick the first night, so half of them couldn't go to SeaWorld, and then Christina got sick a few days later, so she couldn't go to the second day of Magic Kingdom, so that was a bummer. A lot of money down the tube there, but otherwise we had a pretty good time. Weather treated us not too bad. While Joey, we kind of did the sabbatical, I kind of was like, hey, so how can I do some, other kind of podcast stuff? And so I came up with this concept with, I've always wanted to see this, or I've never seen that before, or something like that. And just kind of contacting random folks I know in the movie community. Have one episode out now with my friend Marvin. We talked about Ong Bak, and it's just a sweet 40-minute little episode talking about that particular movie and his interest in movies, kind of like what we do, just skimmed way down. And so, I'm going to try to do that on the side, just make some more connections in the movie talk community. And then
I was gonna say that was a good episode. I enjoyed listening to it.
Oh, sweet.
And if you had talked just about the movie, it would have been like 15 minutes long. Like, you just went through it like crazy. But Marvin spent a lot of time getting to like know Marvin's favorite movies and that kind of stuff, which was pretty interesting. And he's very British.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that negatively. He's just very British, just like most people probably think we're both very Southern. So
yeah, there you go. Well, originally he wanted to do Batman '89, and all of a sudden he dropped Ong Bak on me, and I had always wanted to see that, and that actually fell within the parameters of the show. So I was like, well, we can still talk about Batman, but let's do this movie we haven't seen before. So my next episode, the other host of the Cinematic Underdogs podcast I have lined up. We're going to talk about The Usual Suspects with his name is Jordan Puga, I believe. So that should be coming up next week. Going to have my son Nolan on, and do these short, sweet podcasts on the side just to kind of keep things interesting. Not like I'm not busy enough already.
Right? Maybe somewhere along the way, you and I can find one we both have not seen that we always wanted to see, and do that as well. Also, speaking of Cinematic Underdogs,
yeah,
have we heard anything more about the top 5 sports movies thing?
We can get back in touch with oh gosh, I'm blanking. Jordan and Paul.
Yeah, it was Paul. that was a hell of a good time having him on the show.
Yeah, I can reach out to them and see if they're interested in doing that top 5 deal. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be down. Carve out some time, show some interest. I guess the last point of interest, is it's kind of crazy that COVID-19 is like back on the rise, but I guess they're pushing more of immunities now instead of quarantining. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when the kiddos go back to school, but things are pretty crazy at my wife's hospital. She's real stressed out. She went to the ICU tonight. They're pretty much packed with COVID patients right now, and it's hitting a lot of younger people these days. So what will happen next? It's a never-ending saga.
Oh, your kids aren't back in school yet?
Gannon went back to preschool, but the other 2 start on Monday.
Okay, yeah, because the kids here, but they kind of started a more all year round thing, so they've been in school for like a couple weeks.
Oh wow.
And then I didn't read the article, but I definitely thought I saw something pop up about potential school closings and that kind of stuff going forward because of how bad the cases are rising. Mm-hmm. I mean, and we're in the South. There's not, we have a kind of a low vaccine rate where we are. So
crazy.
Yeah.
Did you get vaccinated?
I did get vaccinated about 3 weeks after I got sick from COVID. It was about as quick as I could get one.
Okay.
So, because that shit ain't no joke. I am here to tell you. I know it hits everybody differently, and I know a friend of mine, his new wife just had it, but she had been vaccinated, so it barely even affected her. Like, she still obviously had to quarantine, but she wasn't like sick. She just couldn't taste anything. Whereas since I got it before I was vaccinated, I couldn't really do anything. Like, I would get up and I'd walk to the living room and just sit on the couch all day. After about 3 or 4 days, I was like, man, I really need to take a shower. And it was like a 10-minute shower maybe. And it took so much out of me that I slept for 6 days.
Wow.
But I mean, I wasn't eating anything I was drinking, was just coming right back out. It was not a fun time. 10 out of 10 don't recommend.
All right. Well, let's get into some movie talk with our What Would You Watch Tonight game. And Joey's up.
All right. So I played around with this a little bit, deciding between one of the movies and about 3 different movies before I finally decided on this one. So these 2 movies came out around the same time. They're both kind of that very high action, high stylized action movie where one person is like the ultimate hombre badass kind of fighting a bunch of people. So would you ever watch The Equalizer with Denzel or Mr. John Wick with Keanu Reeves?
The Equalizer. I remember being a little underwhelmed by that one. I just thought it was a little silly in aspects. I haven't seen the sequel. John Wick's kind of funny because the first time I ever watched that, like, I watched a ripped DVD of it and like it was all out of order. So it was almost like watching John Wick like Memento style, which was really strange.
Tarantino style?
Yeah, a little bit. Nolan, Tarantino, something like that. Eventually did watch John Wick all the way through. It's been a while. Saw part 2. Still need to see part 3. So yeah, I would go back to John Wick over Denzel with The Equalizer. But I do really want to see the Denzel movie Fallen. Have you ever heard of this? It's kind of like where this like possession, like where you just kind of like get touched and you get this like demon in your thing, and he's battling that.
I did not hear of that, but I'm pretty much down for Denzel most of the time. So I like both of these movies very similar in the same amounts. So like I said, they're pretty similar. But I've seen John Wick 2 or 3 times. I've only seen The Equalizer once.
Yeah.
So I would probably pick The Equalizer for that. But I mean, they're both just so in my wheelhouse. Now, I played around. I was about to do The Matrix or John Wick, Keanu throwdown. And then I was about to do John Woo versus John Wick, since, they're both super heavy on gunplay, 2 Johns, even though one's fictional. Yeah. But then I was like, oh wait, these are so similar. So
okay, actually, on Matrix 2 will be one of the next action movies I watch. So it's funny you say that.
Nice. Yeah, I've been running through the action movies. If you've been keeping up with my Letterboxd, so
yeah, you've been watching a good variety of stuff lately, which is neat to see. All right, let's hear about some of those movies with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here are my top 3. All right, here are my 3. Slicing open some redemption, big ol' mess sandwich, cool premise, but it reminds me of this and that and this. Oh, and that too.
So I have an idea. I had an idea when I was going through, because we have it blacked out so we can't see it. And I saw how short it was, and so it's not what I thought it was going to be. Because I watched something recently where it was like, oh, this movie is cool, but it's this and that and that and that. So,
what was that?
And then that was Gunpowder Milkshake.
Oh, okay.
Which is on Netflix with Karen Gillan, and it's a John Wick clone, and it definitely has a lot of John Woo influences. And it also has like a Kingsman influence to it. So, yeah. All right.
What you got?
I got Summertime, Fools Who Dream, and $10 Bill, y'all.
All right, which one do you want me to do first?
Let's go with Slicing Open Some Redemption.
Okay, so that is Harakiri by the Japanese director Kobayashi. This is a movie that was on my need to give it another look list. Just samurai movie. The first time I saw it, like, I could tell it was a really good flick, but it was really slow, and the melodrama kind of was like, oh, get it over with already. And so I got together with the Criterion Creeps podcast. It was time for them to do that episode, and so I was like, hey, I'll rewatch it and go talk to them about that. They loved the movie. I think I appreciated it more because I knew exactly what was coming. So I could kind of anticipate things, and things don't normally see, as drawn out when you anticipate what's coming next. I still think it's a little melodramatic for what it is. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that argument again, because even as I was telling them, I was just like, sometimes you like feel a certain way about a movie, but maybe while you're talking about it, you almost lose confidence a little bit because there's contrary opinions out there. But essentially, yeah, I just felt that, okay, so what happens here is there's a guy who goes and is going to commit harakiri in front of this clan of samurai. And what he really wants to do is he wants a payoff, but the clan actually makes him like stick to his plan and actually kill himself in front of them. And then like along the way, they see that he's like ill prepared for this, and they do it anyways. And so there's this whole to-do about like, how dare you, lose your humanity over this facade of the samurai to make this person do something and not spare him any mercy. And so he has a family member that comes and gets some revenge, typical samurai style. So really good stuff there overall, but it's not quite the creme de la creme like it is for most people. So very curious what you'll have to say about Harakiri when you get to it. I'm thinking pretty soon.
It's on my watch list, so hopefully it'll get there. Because it's a samurai movie, so of course I have to watch it.
Yep. All right, what's summertime about?
All right, so summertime is two bigger summer movies that I've watched since the last episode, and in Cruella and The Suicide Squad.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, obviously these are big movies. There's nothing super crazy to explain or like deep, but like I know a lot of people didn't like Cruella. I liked it. Obviously I don't think it's like the best movie ever or anything like that, but I enjoyed it a lot. I thought Emma Stone was great because she's always great. And then The Suicide Squad was hilarious.
Indeed.
Yeah, John Cena.
The big old silver helmet thing.
Right. There was a part we were like near the beginning, and it was like, who did I say was who? I said John Cena was Dave Bautista from Guardians, and then like I think it was Idris was being Star-Lord, just in those same kind of roles. But no, that's a hella good time. Lots of crazy action. Really, really violent. It's very like different than like the Marvel movies, which are violent because there's all sorts of fighting, but you don't have people getting like decapitated or
faces
their throat slit. Yeah, that. I mean, so it had Idris is so good. John Cena, I think, is very underrated. Especially having seen him. The best thing he did when he wrestled, not that he couldn't wrestle, but his promos were always top tier. So it's not a surprise that he can do action movies and that kind of stuff. And of course, Margot is fantastic as Harley. So
yeah, Cena had some great comedic timing in that, and then everyone was eating up that King Shark deal.
Oh, King Shark! It's just the whole time Carl's like, poor King Shark.
At least he has more to say than Vin Diesel as Groot.
I mean, yes, but Groot. I mean, Vin Diesel does get a lot across just as I am Groot. I am Groot. So.
Groot. All right. So where are we going next?
Cool premise, but it reminds me of this and that and this and this and that and this and.
So I watched Free Guy last night. And
the movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Yep. And I posted my Letterboxd review of that last night, and I tweeted it out, and he liked my tweet. It's like, whoa, how about that? Pretty cool. Not sure if he looked at it, but he liked it. Yeah, so I was pretty excited about this. I remember seeing a trailer for this when we went to go see Sonic right before the pandemic hit, and then they shelved it, like throughout the whole pandemic, but now it's out, just coming out. it looked like a pretty cool premise of like this non-playable character that all of a sudden like sees what's going on and like gets involved in the game. That's pretty much all I knew, and that aspect of it was really good. But then it like kind of goes into this Ready Player One kind of thing and Truman Show kind of thing, and like the way they like see that they're in a video game is they put on glasses, a la They Live. So as fun and entertaining of some summer blockbuster it was just like I just was like losing interest in the main story just because I was like getting overwhelmed with like, hey, well that's from this and that's from that, and it just
Space Jam.
Oh, that's a whole nother level of tomfoolery, that Space Jam movie. WB the commercial! So that was fun. I probably should have hated that more. I mean, most of the internet does. Anyways, I got kids, so I don't mind, silly product placement as much as most people hate it. But anyways. But yeah, Free Guy, enjoyable flick. Just, a little derivative. They even have like a big old MCU call out in it, and Star Wars call out, and you're like, oh, this 20th Century Fox owns, or Disney owns 20th Century Fox now. That's what's going on here. So, and then I also saw What If lately, so that was a good time. But you wait to binge the MCU, so we'll get into that at another point.
Yeah, I still need to watch Loki. I'm a little behind, but that's because Deadwood is a thing, and I'm catching up on like old shows because HBO Max is fantastic. Yeah. Also, you don't have to spend $30 to watch your movies that you already pay for a streaming service. Mm-hmm. D+.
Yeah, I spent $80 seeing Free Guy between 4 tickets, 3 medium ices, a medium soda, a medium popcorn, and then the kids decided they needed to have caramel and chocolate popcorn too. So, man, that adds up.
Oh, you didn't watch that one at home? Oof.
Well, Free Guy's not available home streaming.
Yeah,
it's put out. It's put out by 20th Century Pictures, so it's not actually under the Disney thing. So they didn't like slide it up into Disney Plus. You have to go. Like I had to go take the kids to the theaters to see Peter Rabbit 2 because that was Sony, and then Free Guy since it's 20th Century Pictures.
Fun times.
All right. $20 bill, y'all, or $10 bill. $10.
Yeah. Who's on the $10 bill, my friend?
Hamilton.
That's the one. So we had a friend of ours. Her family got sick, and so for her to avoid the plague, she had been couch surfing, and we're like, stop, just come here. You can stay on our couch for however long you need to. You don't have to just keep bouncing around. And so we just watched a bunch of movies, and she got us to watch Hamilton finally. And boy, howdy, that was such a good time. It was so fun. I mean, it's long, but it doesn't even feel like it's almost 3 hours long. Mm-hmm. Unlike something else we'll talk about later. Between the history aspect of it, and then they're singing, and then they're mixing it in with like rap and stuff. It was a lot of fun. It's on D+, obviously. I know this is a big deal. I'm a little late to the show, but if for some reason you still haven't watched it, you should definitely go check it out, especially if you're into American history.
Nice. Yeah, I had planned to watch it last 4th of July when it first came out, and I was going to wait for Christina, and Christina showed no interest, and then, I haven't carved out the niche for it yet, but I would like to. Definitely would like to. All right, so I got a big old mess sandwich. So I picked this one because you made a little comment about it on the Letterboxd.
Oh, ooh.
That's that their Jungle Cruise.
Ah.
All right, so I was totally expecting to dive into Jungle Cruise and just kind of cut loose and have a good old movie night with the kiddos. And it's a lot like the later Pirate of the Caribbean sequels where they like throw a whole lot at you, like almost so fast so that you really can't really almost tell what's going on because it's just this huge visual mess in front of your face. And that's essentially what Jungle Cruise was. I enjoyed it well enough. It's kind of fun because I had actually never ridden the Jungle Cruise ride down in Magic Kingdom. was looking to write it this time, but there was like an hour wait for it. But I just watched it on YouTube, like what the gist of it was, and it's basically corny jokes and animatronic animals. So I don't think I missed all that much. But they include all that in the actual movie.
It's a lot of fun, actually. I enjoyed Jungle Cruise quite a lot when I went a couple years ago.
Oh, nice.
It's no Pirates of the Caribbean, but it was still fun.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of charm to each one of those Disney rides. So yeah, I shouldn't really write any of them off. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does not look right in like period riverboat captain attire. It was just a little odd. It was really derivative of the African Queen when Bogey did that same role, but Bogey actually looks believable in that kind of clothing and so forth. You need to watch that. You're a Bogey fan.
I do need to watch that. Trust me. There's so much that I need to watch. It's crazy. It's just crazy. If I could just stay at home and just get paid and just watch movies all day, and I would probably, I would happily take that. But
all right. But yeah, it was like I said, it was fun enough. It was just like they had to have these conquistadors that were like turning into like jungle monsters, kind of like what they did in Pirates 2, and they're all chasing this flower that like regenerates health or whatever. I mean, we saw that in Pirates 4, and it was just, it's kind of the same stuff we've seen over and over again, just packaged a little differently. And I mean, it's not bad, but don't expect to love it either.
Yeah, no, that's one I was looking forward to. Is that the one on your review? You gave it like 3 stars, but your whole review was literally spent bashing it.
Nitpicks.
Is that the one where I was?
Nitpicks.
Huh?
They're nitpicks. I picked at it. Poke.
Okay.
If I don't hate a movie, like if I'm not like sitting there thinking like, gosh, I hate this movie, I'll probably won't rank it under a 3. So
No, that's fine. Like if we're in discussion, it sounds about like a 2.5 or 3, average or a little bit above average. But reading your review, it sounded like you hated it. And I was just like, it wasn't quite as scathing as mine was on the Doctor Zhivago was, but it sounded pretty scathing. So that's why I was like, bro, what are we doing here?
Okay. Well, yeah, I have not the first time I've been accused of digging in a little too deep, but yeah, is what it is. Fools Who Dream.
All right. And that would be, again, because we had a guest, she had never seen La La Land. And I'd only seen it once, and it was already one of my favorite movies. It has definitely cemented itself in there. Okay. Again, one of my favorite on-screen duos, and Ryan and Emma. Mm-hmm. And just all the callbacks to old school Hollywood. They mentioned Casablanca multiple times. Mm-hmm. I didn't notice the first time, she has a Killers poster, and I've seen the Killers now since the first time I watched this. It's a fantastic early noir movie that's in the collection. They talk about Rebel Without a Cause, and I just watched that not long ago, and they actually go to the same place that was in that movie. So that's all super well, like adds to it, and it's just so funny, and it's cute, and then it's heartbreaking, and it's just a great movie. And if you haven't seen it, go see it. I think it deserved all of the praise that it got. And having not seen the movie that won Best Picture, I still think it should have won Best Picture, especially once they announced it. But that's a whole nother story.
Okay. You gotta watch Moonlight. Give it its fair shake.
Oh no, it's I want to watch it. It's just, again, there's not enough time. When you have to spend millions of hours at work, there's just not enough time.
Well said. All right, let's get into our feature movie of this episode, which is Rushmore, which is what Joey picked from my asking him to pick a Wes Anderson movie category. The synopsis via Letterboxd. When a beautiful first grade teacher arrives at a prep school, she soon attracts the attention of an ambitious teenager named Max, who quickly falls in love with her. Max turns to the father of two of his schoolmates for advice on how to woo the teacher. However, the situation soon gets complicated when Max's new friend becomes involved with her as well, setting the two pals against one another in a war for her attention. I don't recall him ever asking him or Bill Murray for guidance on how to woo her. And if he did, I don't think Murray would have said much because he was very to the point.
Well, I think it was before he saw her, and then once he saw her, it was like, oh, well, damn.
Ah.
But also, this is a 15-year-old trying to woo an adult, and then an adult trying to woo an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. They go a little bit out there, but we'll get there.
So what was your first impressions on a Wes Anderson style movie? Did you kind of feel its unique beats?
I mean, my understanding is they're supposed to be like super quirky, and this to me didn't seem super quirky. It just seemed more like Jason Schwartzman was a self-entitled little bitch, prick, whatever derogatory term you would like to use, which fits in. Ian Graves, he's also a self-entitled little punk, and he got his comeuppance in that movie. So, and as far as I know, those are the two things I can remember him from. So, but no, I thought it was a good movie, but I didn't get that. Like, this is overly quirky. It was just that Jason Schwartzman is kind of a strange dude and entitled.
This one is a little bit milder on his style, Wes Anderson style. It's only his second movie, so I think it's his next movie, Royal Tenenbaums, where you really start to kind of see the different visual quirks. The characters definitely kind of have a quirk to them, so I would say that's the biggest case here with Rushmore. This was my second Wes Anderson movie after Tenenbaums, and I've always really enjoyed it. And it goes down pretty smooth for me. I like the Jason Schwartzman character. I mean, he's definitely diluted and kind of obnoxious at times, but I kind of enjoy that character growth. This was actually his debut movie. Some other fun facts about this movie was after Bill Murray had read the script from Wes Anderson, he agreed to do the movie for free. And whenever Wes Anderson actually put this into theatrical release, he arranged a private screening with his childhood critic hero, Pauline Kael, who enjoyed the movie. So now you know. There's a lot of other trivia on there that kind of gets in with like the different scenes and stuff, but there's a lot packed into this movie. So you got some favorite moments, or who did you like? Did you like Bill Murray in the movie?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, Jason Schwartzman was great. I mean, he did a very good job of making me want to like punch him in the face. Bill Murray, how do you?
Which the Scottish guy actually does, right? So was that was your character?
Although it was funny that he's like, oh, he's Irish, and they're like, no, he's Scottish, and then he still called him a Mick, and I'm like, that's the wrong slur for Scottish people. Dude, I think maybe he's helping the teach feed her fish, and she mentions her husband, and he just drops the fish food, the whole thing of fish food in the aquarium, just right in the tank, just.
Yep.
Like,
he turns his head. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were married," which struck me as like a very adult-like thing to say. He's always like pretending like he's an adult.
Yeah, he's putting on this facade that he's like more mature than he is, and that he's like more upper class than he is. I mean, because he spends most of the movie telling everybody that his dad's like a neurosurgeon, as
kind
opposed to instead of being a barber.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he definitely wants to be the greatest at everything, but he doesn't actually put the commitment into actually being great at these things. He just like spreads himself too thin in every area. Like finding all these ridiculous clubs, like was it like the go-kart club, and later on he makes like the high flyers club, and it's hilarious when he's just kind of talking with Bill Murray's character at the wrestling meet, and he was like, "Hey, were you in the shit or whatever?" He's like, "Yeah, I was in the shit." He's like talking real adult to him, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, Max, we need you," and he takes off this suit or whatever, has a wrestling thing on underneath, and jumps in for a match. It's It's like, what?
And it gets immediately just dropped right on his head.
Yeah.
Just murdered. Oh, the scene where they went through, like, where he was, like, all the different clubs he was in, that was pretty funny. It's like, wait, what? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And you got that little style. Like, you probably noticed a lot of on-screen text with this thing. I mean, like, when it went from, like, month to month, like, there was a curtain with the month on it. And, like, yeah, you had the little on-screen text with when it was showing each club. And one of the moments that stood out to me is, like, when he's looking for the person who checked out that book last. Like, it zooms down into, like, the card catalog and sees him, like, flicking through it. So those are some of the little Anderson visuals, you'll see more of as you watch his filmography.
Yeah, well, and, putting, like, the little curtain on the screen, to say the next month or whatever, I mean, the plays were a big deal in this movie, so, I mean, it kind of fits with that, too. Because, I mean, he does there's 2 plays. One of them, he had the budget of a movie for, apparently.
Yeah.
So I guess he wanted to be in the shit.
Yeah, and put on some camo makeup to look. I swear he looked like Tom Cruise there at the end with how he was.
Oh,
made
with
up.
the aviators.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, because I was just like, yeah, no, he doesn't look young here. Like, he looks like he would be, in a war movie.
Yep. So yeah, right off the top, what he's like fantasizing that, he's gonna solve this like impossible math problem and be like lauded by like his class. And I have to admit that there was moments where I wish I could do that groundbreaking thing and become lauded. So yeah, I kind of connected with Schwartzman in several ways, but I like to think that I can take a hint a little better than he does for sure.
That, and we see pretty early on that he's failing, and that if he doesn't bring his grades up, he's out. He's just expelled. And that's when we learn how he got in, and you can see how he is great at orating and lets him talk his way out of a lot of shit. But he just keeps talking himself further and further into it with the adults later as it goes.
I enjoyed that scene once he actually has to go to public school and that teacher's telling him to get off the payphone. And he thinks he's going to, get away with, continuing to talk on the phone when the teacher's just like, no, hang up the phone, son. And he just like...
Yeah, the security guard's like, do you have a phone pass? And I'm like, the fuck is a phone pass? Like, I could understand him having a hall pass to be in the hall, but a phone pass?
Yeah, it's a unique one on me too.
Yeah.
So, so the first time we see Bill Murray, he's giving like a commencement address at the beginning of the school year. It's pretty ironic since, he's like this wealthy steel factory owner. And, he's saying like, hey, little guys out in the audience, you really need to stick it to those, elitist rich kids here in this school, which, include his sons. But this seems like directly targeted at Max, since he's essentially the little guy in the big pond there at Rushmore Academy. They're on scholarship.
Yeah.
So his buddy Dirk, did you recognize him from anything?
I didn't, but it's been a million years since I've seen Dennis the Menace, so I didn't pick up on that.
I think this is the first time I noticed it. Like, I kind of saw him at the side. I was like, that looks so much like Dennis. And I've seen that a couple times with my family since then. So, yep, sure enough, that is the little Dennis the Menace boy. The front of the Criterion cover for this is the one where, how he's kind of in a slumped over position when he's in that little race car thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's the cover of the Criterion edition, and it's like drawn.
Okay. Yeah, I had to borrow this from our good friend Johnny.
Oh, okay.
But it was the Criterion that he let me borrow. It just, no cover.
All right, good to know. Oh man, he suddenly becomes interested in that teacher after he reads that little quote in the library book, where it's all about like, make sure you achieve the most in life and don't let yourself be held back. And yeah, that speaks to Max 100% there. Anderson just uses so many cool shots throughout. I mentioned the card catalog earlier. Like when we first see the teacher, like we just see her through like the slit in the door. So really, really cool, unique angles throughout. Man, I would not be surprised if like by the time my sons are in high school, like how I act between me and them is like Bill Murray and these two little assholes in this movie.
Oh man, I feel sorry for you if your kids are that those kind of little pricks.
Shut
when
up,
they
your
get
ass,
older.
Dad.
Yeah, that's
He like jumps in the back seat and attacks him.
or later on when they like lock him out of the car at a different point. And yeah, boy.
Yep. But hey, Max Fisher brought back Latin.
After he spent 5 years trying to get it canceled.
Yeah, just to impress his teacher, which he's so deluded. Will like him if he like does these things like she's mildly interested in. But you did know that Latin was a dead language.
Yes. So like one of the things I was talking about with my friend when we watched this was that like he's very much a douche. There's the scene later on where he like makes a move and she's like no, and he kind of keeps going for a while until she pushes him off, and it's like he's 15. He has a lot of complex emotions that he's never really felt before, probably all running through his head with all these hormones. And it is good by the time you get to the end, you see that he's grown and changed, and he
finally
wasn't kind of complete douche. I don't know if he got comeuppance that he needed before he kind of transitioned into being less of a douche, but still there is a lot of good character growth by the end of the movie for him.
So let's go into the that birthday party we see. I don't think Max actually made it to the birthday party, but yeah, you see Bill Murray's pretty miserable. He's smoking a cigarette, and why would you be throwing golf balls just randomly into a pool? Is the little kid like going to retrieve them or something?
I think he's just bored. Like, what else is he gonna do? Like, he doesn't look like he wants to be there. Especially like you can see his wife is feeding cake to another dude or getting cake fed to her. Something heavily implied that she's fucking about. So. And
then there's that mashed up birthday cake on his table that like still has candles lit. That was really bizarre. A lot of like strange product placement. Like he has his Budweiser bathing suit and like Coca-Cola's in like plain view whenever they're like chatting at the wrestling match. You haven't seen The Graduate yet, right?
No, but I really, really want to.
There's oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as like the product placement, like I didn't really notice like the Coca-Cola or think anything much about it as like product placement. It's just most school events typically have Coke. So
yeah.
And then I just remember thinking that the Budweiser swimming trunks was like so 90s and such like a dad thing to have.
Yeah.
I'm like, Budweiser, yeah, I'm gonna drink this Bud and smoke this Marlboro and I'm gonna jump in this pool, yeah. Just kind of what it.
I saw this dude at the water park the other week, and he had Jack Daniels like tattooed across his back. I was just like, what do you like flash that at like the liquor store, get a discount or something? It's like ultimate dedication to a brand there.
It's like, oh, hopefully they are paying you. You know how some people get the stickers put on their car to advertise, while they drive around. It's like, please tell me if you got JD all the way like across your back that during the summer you're getting paid to just walk around shirtless.
Jeez. What I'm wondering is they have this real fancy birthday banner in the background with the two obnoxious little brats on that wishing him happy birthday. I mean, I don't see Bill Murray making that banner, so pretty curious who got up to that artwork.
He bought it. He paid for it to be commissioned. He is a millionaire.
Oh, okay. That's a reasonable explanation. All right. Yep. But yeah, whenever he jumps in the pool and you see him just kind of floating there with his eyes closed or whatever, that's pulled from The Graduate. And I was reading my previous review about it, and I had kind of dug into the fact that like Max being obsessed with Rosemary is kind of like the Benjamin Mrs. Robinson relationship. So, yeah, I guess who's not a fan of the Graduate? Who's seen it? So, obviously Wes Anderson is, in my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So,
All right, once again, he's very adult in his conversations, trying to impress the teacher. So the next thing he gets into, like you had mentioned earlier, is they're like talking about their love of fish. So he decides he wants to build an aquarium. Oh.
That was after the first play, though, right? If I'm not mistaken, because he invites her to the play, and she shows up with her doctor boyfriend, who is Luke Wilson, and then so they go to dinner, and there's this big, like, he just gets super pissed at her, and he's had like a whiskey and coke, and he's just like laying into her, talking about how it's rude, and telling Luke that he's rude and dressed wrong, and
yeah. And Bill Murray is there, just like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
I'm just keep drinking.
I guess he must have ordered the drink and like handed it to Max, and then like nobody stopped him. That's the only way I can think that a kid would be drinking in a restaurant like that.
Teacher was like, she's like, you're the one who ordered him to drink. Also, I mean, it's like a fancy restaurant, like probably just off. Like, they're just like, sure, he's old enough, whatever, even though he's in a high school jacket.
I wrote a hit play. What did you do?
Oh boy, yeah, right. I wrote a hit play. I saved Latin. What did you do?
God, what was his the first play was it was the Pacino cop thing, Serpico, right? I think Adam.
I need to see Serpico, but that. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yep, and still need to see that. Yep, Max gets drunk at that dinner. He ends up getting kicked out of Rushmore because I guess he's having a fundraiser. This part didn't really make a lot of sense, where he's like on the baseball diamond, tearing things up, cutting down trees, and the principal has had enough of this, and he gets expelled from Rushmore and has to go to public school, where he's definitely even more of a fish out of water there, because like he goes up in front of the school and gives this little quirky thing about, hey, I just want to fit in. I'm not really a rich kid, and I want to make you guys a fencing team. And everyone's like, yeah, whatever. Who's this loser? But his little girlfriend comes up to him, and she's really impressed with his style, but he doesn't give her the time of day.
Margaret Yang. Yeah.
Yep.
He treats her like shit to start with, too.
How could
that or he's just oblivious. Like,
I'm all of the above, unfortunately. Because she's like a perfect match for him, and he's like still hung up on this teacher. So, then the drama ensues as so him getting kicked out, Bill Murray and the teacher kind of start seeing each other on the side. Dirk sees them hanging out and kind of misunderstands the situation, and you get that whole. Well, first of all, what Max is confronted by the Scottish guy, and he wants to make himself seem cool, so he claims that Dirk's mom gave him a hand job in the back of a Jaguar. And then, that was a great line when he's just like, hey, they're sitting over there in the hot tub giving each other hand jobs. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. While you were taking a nap, they're in a hot tub giving each other hand jobs, and I'm like, how does he give her a hand job? I'm a little confused.
I guess it could. I don't want to even say that. So, but anyways,
yeah, it was just he didn't know what he was talking about. Of course,
awkward kid sexuality in movies. Gotta love it. Oh man, then damn, Max gets vicious, fucking unleashing bee club bees all in his hotel room, and then Murray follows up by crushing his bicycle, and then Max cuts his brake lines. Dear Lord, this kid's nuts.
And he gets arrested and somehow
bailed out.
Yeah, like what? And then the scene where Bill Murray's driving the car and his brake lines are cut. He's just like trying to pick the kids up, and he's just trying to hit a tree, and then the groundsman is just kind of like inching back as the car is slowing down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an Indian dude. He's actually kind of a small part in most Wes Anderson movies, at least early on. I know he's in Bottle Rocket, and he's in Royal Tenenbaums, so he's one to look out for. A lot of Wes Anderson regulars like the Wilson brothers. Apparently, one of the trivia things I read was that Owen Wilson, which I think helped write this movie, was supposed to be Rosemary's husband. And there's like a scene of, or a picture of him like in the room or something. I'll have to go back and look for that.
That would make sense, but yeah.
All right. So, I guess at this point, Max, like, well, I think there's that fun montage where, like, Max is kind of fitting in at school. Like, he joins the cheer squad and knows how to do, like, bajillion, like, backflips. So that was unique.
Yeah. And then that's where is that the same montage where he's, like, fencing and they're trying to play basketball around him? And
yeah.
yeah.
I remember that, too. It's always, like, and some little action he's doing in like the bottom right corner of the screen, and it's like all this other stuff. I think he drops out of school after that point, and like, yeah, he goes and like works at his dad's barbershop.
Yeah, once he got arrested or something. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and then
then he starts trying to like make amends with Dirk, because Dirk comes in the barbershop, and then he makes amends with Bill Murray and introduces his dad to Bill Murray, and they're like, "Oh, how are we gonna impress her?" And he's like,
"How much money do you have?"
He's like, "Yeah, how much money do you have?" Well, you got like $10 million. We're gonna need all of it. Jeez. And so they're trying to build another aquarium at Rushmore.
Yep.
And then she doesn't show up to the groundbreaking, and he's like, "I've wasted $8 million." Which I guess maybe that's where the money for the play came, was the other $2 million, but
maybe so. Then there's the part where like Max fakes being hit by a car in order to like go into her house, but she's actually like living at her widowed husband's place and like staying in his room, which is a little odd. Didn't Max like lay in his bed and say like, "Oh, this is where the magic happens"? And there's like model planes floating overhead. Like, it's very strange.
She's like, "I'll go get the iodine or whatever," and he like just jumps in the bed and immediately puts a cassette in the boom box, and
yeah,
I'm like, this guy thinks he's fucking slick.
Yes, he does.
Is this fake blood?
Yeah, and then he's okay. I think I'm actually getting into some of your notes here. So the Vietnam play towards the end.
Yes, I was assuming you were gonna like fill them out more or add to them.
Okay.
Because I think right here, anywhere where I'm like using the words teach, that's me. So.
Oh, okay. All good, all good. Say something about, I don't know. What's your Rushmore, Joey?
Dude, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, that Scottish guy. Big show, no results. That was pretty good. At one point, I actually wrote a Letterboxd review about how Letterboxd was my Rushmore. So I guess what does Rushmore mean exactly? I guess that just means like the thing that changed your life, maybe. Either that or like the thing that like you're striving to be the best at. I guess it could be interchangeable between those two. But yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Never really thought about it, to be honest with you, because Rushmore was Bill Murray's Rushmore,
or Rosemary,
and then Rosemary was both of them. Rushmore was Max's Rushmore before,
originally, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before, yeah.
And then Murray says, "Yeah, Rosemary was my Rushmore," and then he says, "Me too," which, yeah, in typical Max fashion. Gosh, I love that scene early on whenever Murray and Rosemary are walking around and like you have all these really nice trees in the background. It's very symmetrical, which is quite surprising for, trees. That's not something you can just position. So, yep, don't piss Max off. Oh, okay. There's a big third act slump here, where Max is having kind of a downtime. A feud with all his friends. And this is like one of the rare occasions where I thought it was like, I really enjoyed it. It was kind of deserved. Like, he really needed this kind of kick in the ass reality check to kind of get back on the straight and narrow. So this is like one of those cases, because most of the time when those come in, it's like, oh yeah, the plot demands this in order for it to have kind of this arc to it, and it's really forced. But in this case, it was like I didn't mind it happening because, you know, yeah, it definitely felt like it needed to happen. Yep, he owns up to the lie about his dad being a neurosurgeon, which relate with as well. In my Letterboxd review, I said this little story about how when I went to college, I used to tell people I was from Minnesota because I was ashamed of being from Charleston. You ever told a white lie to make people think different of you, Joey?
Not that I can recall. I mean, I probably did at some point, but not like that. For a long time, even when I was in school, it was just like, oh, if you don't like me, you can just fuck off. But why would you be ashamed to be from Charleston? That's like one of the best cities to be from in our state, brother.
I don't know. I guess I just wanted to seem like this, like, person from, you know, somewhere that no one ever been before. I don't know.
Don't you know?
Yeah. I got a kick out of whenever they go, so the principal, I guess, has a stroke and goes up into the hospital, and Max comes and visits him, and the guy, like, snaps out of his coma. He's like, Fisher, what are you doing here?
He's like, those are the first words he said in 7 days.
Yeah. It was hilarious when Murray spikes the Coke or whatever, at like the Diet Coke that's in his pocket or whatever. And then I think they hear a noise and Ian's like stashing the Coke in like some towel blankets behind him or something. So.
Oh, yeah. He finishes it. I was trying to figure out, I was like, what are you talking about spiking the drink? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay, now.
Going back to that scene where he sneaks in, well, he like, you know, acts like he got hit by a car or whatever. Like they're talking about her dead husband, and he always likes to put the salt in the wound and keep like mentioning how he's dead. So like, I think she says something to the extent of like how her dead husband was way more creative than the Bill Murray's character will ever be, or had more talent in his nail. And then Max is like, his dead nail. And then you get this little teardrop from her, which was a nice little moment. Moment.
And then he was like, would he have spent $8 million to build you an aquarium? And she's like, well, if he had the money, yes.
Yeah, did say that. But yeah, eventually they kind of make up, and like he kind of gets a sense of who the ex or the widowed husband was. And, you know, they talk about the book and stuff and how he went to Rushmore, and so Max can relate with him there. And then now I'll talk. Now there's my note about the Vietnam play at the end, and we get the closing credit music. I wish I knew what I knew now when I was younger. Pretty perfect for this story of a kid out of his element, just faking it until he makes it.
Oh, and after the play, you know, they're walking around, and I guess they're dancing, and Bill Murray's like, hey, can I dance with your girlfriend? Mm-hmm. And she's like, damn right, I'm your girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then he ends up dancing with the teacher, and
mm-hmm.
It's all friendly, and...
Yep. Zooms out, and nice little story directed by Wes Anderson. Apparently, he tried to do this in the style of kind of a doll... let me look this up. The author of The Witches. Let's see. I think Roald Dahl. Let me think. Author of The Witches is Roald Dahl. Yeah. Roalddahl. Which Anderson would later go on to do Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I believe is the same author. So there you go. Yeah, I still rate this at about 4.5 stars. It's not a perfect movie for me, but I think it's quite brilliant in ways, and enjoy it quite a bit.
I gave it 3.5. But you know, talking with you about it, I might would move it up to maybe a 4, and it's in that 3.5, 4 range where it's good, it's very good at doing what it wants you to do, like what it wants to do, like mm-hmm. make you hate Max. So it achieves that pretty well.
Very nice. All right, after the break, we are going to overthrow the Tsar and fall in love, but find out that might not have been all a good idea when we return. Next up, we're talking about David Lean's epic, Doctor Zhivago from 1965. Plot synopsis from the IMDb. The life of a Russian physician and poet who, although married to another, falls in love with a political activist wife and experiences the hardships during World War I and the October Revolution. All right. Well, you know me. I'm this big old Russian history buff. So I remember when I watched, I think it was Lawrence of Arabia or something. My mom had found out that I was really big into Russian history. So she recommended Dr. Zhivago for me. And while I didn't like it as much as Lawrence of Arabia, I did quite like all that Russian stuff going on here. And so I checked it out and enjoyed it as a high schooler. I bought the DVD from Borders and college and watched it again. And I'm pretty sure this was my third watch through of it. It's definitely a haul. I like the second half a lot better than I like the first half. I think the love story is definitely what drags it down the most for me. But we'll get into it. You ready to any statement at this time, Mr. Porter? Because unfortunately, this sounds like it was a painful experience for you.
I feel like I'm still stuck watching this slog of a movie. Like, this is right up there with, as far as movies I just disliked, with like Dogville and Army of Shadows and Ivan's childhood and the
Really?
White Ribbon and
Three Colors Red too, right?
Huh?
Three Colors
No,
Red too.
I liked all of the three colors.
No, but Three Colors Red, that's a real slog.
Look, this movie lost me about 10 minutes in, and it's 220 minutes long. I literally...
Was the overture over by that point?
Yes, it was about 7 minutes before a person was on screen, and I was actually counting like 10 minutes worth of film time, not just there's some music playing. Yeah, no,
But Obi-Wan Kenobi was there.
I didn't even realize that was Obi-Wan Kenobi until I was reading your notes.
Yep, that's Alec Guinness.
I mean, fuck Alec Guinness. He hated Obi-Wan and disparaged people from dressing up as him and wanting his autograph. So you know what? Fuck him.
Wow, that's not what I expected at all from bringing up. So you did watch the overture all the way through?
No, I fast forwarded once I realized it was just music. Because Johnny lent me this, and I had to make sure that it was actually what I thought it was going to be and not just music for 3 hours.
But that's not the director's intent, Joey.
I'm gonna firmly and emphatically say this. Fuck that director. Fuck this movie. I don't have nice things to say about this movie. Even like some of the nature porn, which I probably would have been like, oh, that's really pretty. That's a snowy mountain. I was just so disengaged, could not care less. I had to, if I had not been watching this for this, I would have quit watching it. And I almost did, and was just going to be like, look, I would have said the same thing at an hour and a half or 2 hours that I would at 3 hours and 20 minutes. So just please shoot me. But I did soldier all the way through it. So there is that.
He spoke his piece. Well, I'll go through it and see if you can, if anything interests you here, which doesn't sound like it will. But, yep, this is the first movie on the pod, I believe, that's had an overture. It was funny, I went and I commented on the old Criterion Considered Facebook page, seeing if anyone would admit that they fast forward through the overture, and most people, they said they were into it. So we get the opening scene out, and actually no, it starts off with Obi-Wan. They're bringing that girl into his office and being like, "Did you know who your parents are?" And then she basically says no, and then they go into the story of who Doctor Zhivago was. Oh right, this is I was getting into the score. You probably didn't like the score.
There was a score besides the overture.
Dude,
I'm
mostly talking about the guitar thing. The da 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 da.
I was so checked out of this movie, and I tried not to be, and it did nothing to grab my attention. Oh, killing kids in the field because they were wearing white jackets? Nope, don't care. Just there's enough. Don't care. She shot a dude who raped her. Don't care. Just don't.
Huh. Well, anyways, that the theme has this instrument called the balalaika, which is a Russian guitar thing, and so that while it's kind of an odd sounding instrument score for a big epic like this, it does fit in with like the plot. So I'll get there. Yep. Remember those trees like in Ivan's childhood, those birch trees. Gotta love them. I do, at least. We open the movie on a stunning wide shot of the Urals. We see that Russian Orthodox cross. Definitely like the countryside aspects of this movie more than like what takes place in Moscow. For some reason, some of the wide, as you described them, nature porn shots, looked a lot newer and more vivid and crisp than a lot of the close-ups look a lot older for some reason. I'm not sure why that would be, but that's what I got. We get to see Yuri as a kid. They bury his mother, and they give him the balalaika. And so that's the one possession that he actually was able to hold on to his whole life. Although it was a little strange because he never plays it. So he's like a doctor and a poet. But yeah, he's never playing that guitar, but it's still like a thing for him. So not sure if they dropped the ball there or not. We jump forward in time. He's a physician in Moscow, and the revolution is on the horizon. We see that he's already setting his sights on Laura, played by Julie Christie. Now, did you have a preference between Laura and Tanya at all?
The blonde. So that's Laura, right? Yeah.
Yep. You like Laura better?
Yeah, and typically I like brunettes better, but
okay.
But to be said, just again, like
okay.
I don't the where you're like, oh, her stone cold appearance, I didn't really notice that, but again, I was just like, oh, look, there's a blonde chick.
Yeah, she's a little chilly in this. That's one of my biggest drawbacks is how he's so torn about whether he wants to stay with Tanya or go to Laura, and I kind of personally thought Tanya was great and he should have just stay where he was. Maybe he would have not get sucked into the army there back at the end, but anyways, we'll get there. Our first big action scene, the protesters get ambushed by this Cossack army. And they have sabers, and they're all mowing them down. And instead of actually focusing on these guys with the sabers chopping at people, it's actually more of showing the panic in the street. And then we get a bunch of close-ups of Zhivago getting all teary-eyed because he's seeing all this horror in front of him. So this is one of those cases where an action scene is really basically getting you to think about the effect of the violence rather than the violence itself, which honestly, I would have rather seen a bunch of slashing and dashing, but I guess I can understand what artistic merits it was going for there. And then later on, it shows I'm on the street and there's a bunch of dead folks and the blood spattered snow. So that's our first action scene. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that none of the action scenes in this whole thing ever at least maybe pulled you in just a little bit.
No, just that was a pretty decent scene. It was still pretty early in the movie, but
it's the first 30 minutes, I think.
Yeah, no, it was oh, they're protesting. Oh, they're running away from the guys on horses with sabers. Okay, cool. And I don't understand. And the thing is like I don't understand why. I like history pieces, and I like, or like yeah, I like movies about history, and I like time period movies, and this is both of them. And it just did not capture me. No matter how many times I tried it just didn't pull me in.
Do you know much about the Russian Revolution in general? Is it kind of a gray area
Um,
for you?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, because back when we were in school, we actually got taught history a decent amount, and I do like world history. So I mean, I know it's just been a long time. I mean, I know a little bit about it.
Okay.
Um, you know, but not a ton.
Okay. Yeah, I've always been pretty obsessed with this story. Now, this is definitely from more of a like. So he's a doctor. He's part of the bourgeoisie or whatever, and he kind of goes through this deal where the Bolsheviks take over the socialists. It turns into a socialist country. He's basically taken down a peg because he goes from this like nice lifestyle to living like all the peasants or whatever. But he's also expected to work just as hard, like helping them with their medical needs compared to what he used to be able to live pretty real nice lifestyle from that same kind of work. So I like how the movie depicts that by having a physician be in the main spot. Yeah, always been a fan of. So basically, what's going on in this period of history was. So yeah, Lenin's leading the this move for socialism in Russia. World War One breaks out, and basically that's their chance to really take advantage of the peasants and have them turn against the bourgeoisie in the country and have a revolution. And so then Russia falls into this revolution, and Lenin takes over with Trotsky and Stalin, and that's the early days of the Soviet Union. The Tsar was in control before, and we find out throughout the movie that the Tsar gets shot. The whole Anastasia story has to do with the Tsar's daughter. There's Rasputin, which is allegedly like the Tsar's advisor, who was like corrupt and said to be like evil or whatever. That's a whole nother story. That's in the Anastasia cartoon or whatever.
Mysticism and
Yep.
all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, so this is a story I've been obsessed with quite a while. I went to Russia, kind of saw some of these places in Moscow, which was really cool back in my college days. I even at one point, when I wanted to be a filmmaker, I was thinking about making a like a Lenin movie where like it was all about like him being taken back into Russia to stir things up. So like at one point I was even envisioning myself making my own version of this movie. So that's kind of like to explain my roots a little bit with it there. Okay, so yeah, we were introduced to Tanya, and yeah, so Tanya's basically Zhivago's like natural fit or whatever, and we see them together. They seem happy, and then we get into the drama of Laura. So she has this sugar daddy name. What is his name? Komorowski, yep. So he's her sugar daddy. Like Laura's mother's so upset about this that she ends up like trying to kill herself. Now, when I was watching the movie, I thought that was Laura that they pumped the stomach, but then I was reading on Wikipedia that it was the mom, and I looked at it again, and you can see like she has like red hair instead of the blonde hair. So it's like, oh, that was Laura's mom. So little tidbit there that I've never picked up before. And so Pasha, he's this revolutionary, which is kind of interesting how Laura is caught between like this bourgeoisie guy and then Pasha the revolutionary. So that's kind of a small embodiment of this whole like conflict in history going on right there. She looked pretty great in that red dress. Komorowski finds out that her and Pasha are hooking up, so he ends up raping her. Pretty crazy stuff there. But then she goes and shoots him. So very dramatic. I would say that's probably my least favorite part of the movie. All that love triangle stuff going on. And then World War I fires up. We find out that Zhivago goes to the front. We get some cool shots of like the frozen hell of the Russian front with the trench and stuff, and it makes us think that Pasha dies because there's this big explosion in front of him, and his glasses go flying. Eventually, the citizen soldiers get tired of this a few moments later and start to retreat. I really wish there would have been more of the World War One aspect, but I guess Lean really wanted to focus more on the romance of this story.
The war is just a backdrop.
Yeah, a footnote for sure. I'd be very curious to hear what you think of like Lean's other films, since this one didn't pull you in at all. Like, you haven't seen Bridge on the River Kwai yet, I imagine.
No, I have not. I have a cool special edition of it sitting in there. It's in where me and Carl like do our random movie selections or whatever. It's in there to watch. We just haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay. Yep. That one and Lawrence of Arabia and this one are his big three. Early in the Criterion Collection, he did like, I think, a version of like Great Expectations and maybe Oliver Twist or something. Still need to check some of his smaller movies out, but just to give you some perspective on the director. So yeah, the Citizen Army, they start to retreat, but they run into the Tsar's army. For some reason, it always stuck in my mind because I think one of the leaders in the army like gets up on this barrel and he's just like, "You guys need to turn around. We need to defend our homeland or whatever." And then like the top of the barrel breaks and he falls in and gets all wet. For some reason, that's always stood out to me. And then some guy caps him, and yep, the Citizen Army basically overthrows the Tsar's army at that point. And so we see that Zhivago is now, he's a doctor on the front, like I mentioned. Laura is like serving as his nurse, and they bond quite a bit and essentially fall in love. Eventually, Yuri goes back home, and this is where the movie gets the most interesting for me. Is it goes into this how, like, basically they've taken their home and they've like the Bolsheviks in charge of it are like saying like, "Hey, this there's enough room down here for like 13 additional families," and they're like, "Yeah, whatever." And so they move in and do their thing, but like eventually like these people downstairs are like taking more and more and more from them, and so I think that's definitely not good. Zhivago keeps getting called out to all these doctors' calls, and like the Bolsheviks say like it's not typhus and it's not this and it's not that, because they want to like put a whole like different propaganda spin on what's going on. But so that pisses Zhivago off because it's like the situation's right in front of you, but you're denying it because you're forcing all these people to. If not a few people having it all, then nobody's going to have nothing. Essentially, is what they're kind of forcing them into. Probably a very Western ideal of what socialism was. It'd be interesting to hear the same kind of story told from the Russian point of view, and see if this was painted any differently, or if this you call a spade or not. So that would be very interesting for me. I'd already mentioned the interesting aspect of him being a doctor, needed both, as a member of the bourgeoisie, and then, rolled into the, what's going on here with socialism. So as time goes along, his family really starts to suffer because like they've run out of like fuel to heat the fire to keep their kid, in good condition. And so Yuri goes out and steals some firewood, and that's when Obi-Wan Kenobi trails him back to the house. And then the folks downstairs, the people staying there, the Bolsheviks, they're all like intruding on their space now. And so Obi-Wan clears them out, and they're like, "Hey, you should go out to the countryside." So, hey, Joey, you like trains?
I mean, I typically like trains, yes.
All right. Mm-hmm. So they board up a train. We get some perspective of what's going on around the country. We find out about the Reds fighting the Whites, and Pasha, we find out, is not actually dead. He's one of the Red Army commanders, and like he's very distrustful of what's going on, and so like he thinks certain towns are like helping the Whites out, and so they'll burn them to the ground. That's a pretty cool shot of them opening up the train door and seeing all that stuff, that village completely burned down.
That reminded me a lot of Come and See.
Yeah, that actually flashed through my mind. So, you saw Come and See during the break, didn't you?
Yes, I saw Come and See. I think during our hiatus. Yeah, maybe before. I don't remember. I saw it at some point this year.
Okay.
That
And
and your
then,
favorite Midsummer.
yeah, well, it's definitely a fan. I liked how the scene on the train, the lady doing the Russian dance gave it kind of some flavor. Um, they almost reach their destination. They see the Red Army train zoom by with Pasha there, and he's the military commander, and we go to intermission. Yep, I stopped giving you status updates at that point since you were not impressed all the way up to the intermission. So I was hoping you'd like the second half, but it sounds like you were pretty checked out. Um, let's see. So gorgeous
Yeah,
landscape. Uh huh.
and I was like, okay, intermission. I got up, threw some water on my face, went to the bathroom, all that good jazz, and it's like, all right, we're gonna get into this, and it didn't to me get any better.
Did anybody watch this with you?
No, I was by myself.
Okay.
Carl is gone for the weekend, so
Okay.
he,
So there's a scene where Yuri gets off the train and he goes and meets with Pasha, and there's kind of this whole political discussion. I think the underlying thing you're kind of getting is like Pasha is upset that like Laura has fallen in love with him, and they're disconnected now, but I don't think they really deliberately say that, but I think that's definitely going through their mind. They arrive in the countryside and they go to Tanya's father's estate. He has this beautiful, like, basically this huge home out in the middle of nowhere that has like these cupolas on the top and beautiful place, but it's boarded up, saying it belongs to the party, so they could get in trouble if they bust in there. So instead, they hold up in the cabin. They seem pretty happy, but yeah, Yuri just keeps thinking about Laura. So this is kind of a slow part of the movie where he's going back and forth, seeing Laura, come back and seeing Tanya, kind of two-timing Tanya, which is kind of lame. But that's what the story is, because he is a man with his heart torn in two directions or whatever. One of the great transition is like it fades from winter, like I think a snowy glass, into a flower, and then it goes to Laura. Yep. Eventually, this is probably my favorite part of the movie, where like he's on his way back. Like Laura, he like splits it up with Laura. She's all crying and stuff, and then he goes back home to Tanya because I think they're about to leave. But then the Red Army grabs him.
she's about to have a baby. She's like mega pregnant.
Oh, that's right. His excuse is that he's gonna go get some morphine for the delivery, right?
Yes.
But he's actually there to go say bye to Tanya for the last time. But he does not make it back because he gets forced back into military duty as they're going to hunt down the whites, which basically it seems like a czar military commander like recruited a bunch of young guys to support his cause, and that's who they're gunning down, as you had alluded to earlier with the fact that a lot of the people they're going after are quite young.
Yeah, because they do the scene that was them charging across the lake on the horse, and they charge into the machine guns, and then the next scene they have a machine gun and they're just shooting down all these young kids and that one old dude.
Winter really sets in. He's able to eventually just kind of like go the other way and get out of there, and it was really neat. He's like hallucinating about seeing people, and it's really just people just hunkered down trying to survive this huge blizzard or whatever. He finally makes it back to town. Like he looks totally withered from the storm, icicles all over his mustache and stuff, which is pretty cool. Then he hooks back up with Laura because that's where she is.
That particular scene where he comes in and you can see all of how his face looks and everything really reminded me of The Shining at the end.
Oh.
Because
Jack
they
Torrance?
they show him in and his face is all covered in icicles.
Oh, you're talking about the final shot when it shows him the next day frozen in the snow?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Komarovsky comes back around, and at first I didn't recognize him. I actually had to like kind of flick back through it to piece this all together. This is the asshole sugar daddy, comes back at the end of the movie. He's saying that they need to go off with them, and Yuri and Laura are like, hell no. And then they go,
Um, but when he first gets back, like homegirl, blonde girl, has like a letter from Tanya
right.
from him or whatever, and so her and I guess the kid and her dad or something went to Paris.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that was definitely a thing that happened quite a bit with like the bourgeoisie class getting out of country or whatever because they were being targeted. So yeah, that makes sense. So Laura and Yuri go to live in Tanya's father's, big estate or whatever, which is like all frozen over now, which is really cool. But this one room where it's like an office, which is like this desk that's all dusty, and then Yuri sits down to be a poet. And when I was writing about this movie, it actually had totally escaped me the fact that that he was a poet. Which goes into like apparently like before the revolution, like his poetry was very highly thought of because it was all about like it's very beautiful and about the personal pleasures or something like that. But then like once these folks have more of a socialist mindset, they rejected the poetry because it's about having access instead of the collective. So that's a nice interesting way of what Yuri's all about, being affected by the revolution. But then Komarovsky, he breaks in on their parade again, getting towards the end of the movie here, as he forces Laura to come with him, and then Zhivago stays behind. We cut back to Obi-Wan Kenobi. What is his name? I wrote it down earlier, but I'll just stick with Obi-Wan. So, finishes his story to the daughter or whatever who never really knew her father. And then Laura got separated from Laura and just ended up as one of the numerous workers or whatever.
But both of the Laura and Zhivago, kind of the two main characters, or two of them, just have these really, they're just kind of written off, like their story ends very meaningless.
Meaninglessly, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Which is very really speaks to the era of how no one person like was supposed to stand out from another, and it's all about the collective. So of course they just kind of fell into the background, and
Yeah, 'cause they show Laura walking away, and she's got from the orphanage where she was trying to find her kid, and there's that poster of Stalin, and then it's like, yep, and she died in a Stalin work camp, and it's like,
yep.
Do
you recall that? And then Yuri sees her and is like trying to chase after her, but apparently he had a bad heart by this point and just has a heart attack in the street and never got to talk to her one last time, which is pretty sad. Yeah, so that pretty much wraps up the movie. I mean, after Obi-Wan says, "That was the story of your parents," she goes along, and then it cuts over to the big dam or whatever they're working on, and that's the end of the movie. I'd already kind of gotten into some of the big themes here about how this socialist movement, how it would have affected a doctor, and the poetry, class structure, and yeah. So, 3 hours, 20 minutes, definitely too long for what it is. I like the history and war stuff more than the love story stuff for sure. But, man, whenever I see, like, those red banners or red flags or any kind of Soviet things, I'm just, like, totally, like, sucked into those little things. Those really get me going. So, I have that going for me.
Bolshevik.
Yep. Really solid Russian war epic romance. Not my favorite, but I still enjoy it quite a bit. Warren Beatty has a movie that's similar called Reds that basically he is an American socialism that travels to Russia to be like a part of the movement. Came out in the 80s, has Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson, so just throwing that out there. I probably
That's a hell of a cast.
Yeah. I probably would like that one more, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. I think I've seen that one twice as well. I would put it at 4 stars. It's an excellently made movie. Definitely has slow parts. But overall, Lawrence of Arabia, I think, is David Lean's masterpiece. And fun fact that this lost out to Sound of Music for Best Picture that year.
As it should have. It shouldn't even have been nominated. That's
One for cinematography.
Sure, cool, good for it.
Oh my! So that one's in the book. I felt bad because I'm looking over right here at Joey and because obviously I want to give the movie its due, but Joey's like sitting on his bed, kind of have his head behind his arms, just kind of relaxing while I do my thing.
I'm not on my bed, thank you. I'm in a fucking chair. But yeah, no, I've said what I wanted to say when I wanted to say it. I let you give this movie its due.
Yeah.
So
I was shocked that you said this was Army of Shadows was better than this. I couldn't agree less, but that was something. I'm not sure what it was, but we should probably move on. Yeah. So
pick my eyeballs out.
No. Never know when Joey's gonna drop that old half a star rating.
Mm-hmm.
I should show you the movie I gave a half star and see what comes of it.
What movie was it?
Lars von Trier's The Idiots.
Whoa! Holy shit! Did Justin Peterson just gave a Lars von Trier movie less than 87 stars? Oh my god! What the fuck is happening in this world?
Well, that was quite a while ago, but yeah, I didn't like that movie at all. But yeah, we should watch that so Joey can see what I think's a bad Lars von Trier movie.
Hard pass, because if you think it's a bad movie and it's an LVT movie, it's gonna be real bad, and I'm gonna want to kill myself.
I never did finish his.
Pass.
He also did this thing called The Kingdom, which is like a comedy horror Danish TV show. And I watched half of it, and I just kind of gave up. I never made time to watch any more of it. So there is Lars von Trier stuff that I'm not so into. So, but that's a whole other conversation that we always get back into on this podcast. Okay, where are we going next? Hopefully, we'll find some movies that Joey fucking loves.
Well, I mean, I gave you a pretty loaded category to pick from, so.
Oh yeah, so I'm pick. You want me to pick a Kurt Russell movie, right?
That is correctamundo.
All right, so it pretty much came down between 2 movies. Any guess what?
Well, I figured it would be between 3.
Okay.
It would be between The Thing, Escape from New York, and Big Trouble.
Okay, yeah, those are definitely heavy hitters from Kurt Russell. For me, it came down between Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2 and the movie I picked. And I'm finally correcting the universe because Joey threw a big old monkey wrench in the universe when he didn't actually pick a Quentin Tarantino film that was directed by QT. So we're going to watch Death Proof.
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. Also, thank you for not picking Guardians 2. I literally just watched that.
Oh, wow. Let's spin that wheel of destiny.
So, not to get too much into Death Proof already, I think that's a very underrated Quentin Tarantino movie.
A lot of people, I really enjoy it.
A lot of people put it at the bottom, and I, having watched it last Halloween, I think it was last Halloween, maybe the one before, I don't remember, and I was just like, this is a lot better than people give it credit for, especially the theatrical cut.
And it is the last QT movie I have to watch and rate on Letterboxd, so looking forward to it. It's been a while. I remember the last time I watched it with my aunt, and she's kind of like you. She's really into these female kick-ass movies, and at the very end, she did a stand-up and cheer at the very last scene, which is understandable because it's one of those kind of moments. Fair. All right, let's spin that wheel of destiny. See what Death Proof will be complimented by.
All right, so I got the number 14.
Maybe it's that Yucca Flats movie.
Oh, Yucca Flats is not in here. I would not subject anybody to that. I would not subject myself to that. I'll be real with you. You could pick that, and I would just hard on the spot veto that. Cause gross.
Oh, really?
We got Basic Instinct.
Oh, wow! Have not seen that. That's Douglas and Sharon Stone, right?
That's correct. I have also not seen this.
I saw Fatal Attraction, which I've always kind of looped those two movies in the same little category for some reason. But yeah, never seen Basic Instinct, and that is a that was directed by RoboCop dude.
Yeah, Paul Verhoeven.
Verhoeven, yep.
Yeah, Verhoeven. Yep. RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Total Recall, Showgirls.
Yep, that is a classic I have yet to see, so I'm very happy with that pick. Very cool. All right, and finally, I'm going to give you a category.
All right, I'm
And-
intrigued.
Yeah, it's no longer going to be auteurs, at least for the right now, moving for the next couple episodes. I want you to pick a family movie. Any family movie.
A family movie.
Because we're
All right.
going to have Nolan Peterson on for the next episode, or for that episode.
Okay, so give me your parameters, like anything rated G or PG, I'm guessing.
No, it could be PG-13 to G. So if you wanted to like go like the superhero route, that'd be fine. Some like action adventure thing, like maybe like not the Last Action Hero, but something of that ilk. Or we could go Disney, whatever.
All right, I'm going to think about it, but I have one that's in the forefront of my mind.
Okay.
But
Maybe if it's a
think
childhood favorite of yours that you don't think I haven't seen, that would be fun.
Oh,
But-
I think my childhood favorites, like everybody has seen for the most part, because they're pretty big.
Mhm.
As far as movies went, because I mean it was Aladdin.
Okay.
Oh, there is. That's also a good one though. There is a non-Disney one. I'll think on it. I've got some stuff
I'm
to
act-
play around with here.
After I record with Jordan on my spin-off podcast, I'm actually planning on doing one with Nolan, and he picked Tron for us to watch. We've always wanted to see Tron, so that's coming up for us.
Is Nolan the one who loves horror?
It is. He is.
Oh, are there any family movies that are horror movies?
That we haven't seen, unlikely, but you can check my horror tag, see if you can find one.
No, I've got two in mind, and I am sure y'all have both seen them, but they will fit that
He loves to talk about movies, and he can handle a lot. So, yeah, and I guess we'll try to keep it more. It'll be interesting what I do for. Maybe when I'll have to scour my list and make sure that whatever is going to be my spin pick is going to be cool for him as well, so he can stay on for the whole episode.
Yeah, because that would be.
He has his own Letterboxd account. I told you, but letting the viewers know, Ninja Nolan. You might kind of see a little bit of his old man's style of writing in there, because he writes it fresh. He posts it, and then like the following day, I go on there and kind of help make it a little bit more sense. So that's how that works. But he has a couple followers, so it's coming along. And I've definitely seen huge improvements in his writing. Although he likes to say, it was great. And then the next sentence he says why it was great. I'm like, well, no one should put that in the same sentence, dude. So
It was great because XYZ.
yeah. He's fourth grader. It's all good.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially if it gives you guys something to. I mean, y'all are already doing, but it gives you guys something to do to like bond and share an interest together. And then it also, like if it's improving his writing, that's only gonna help him. And it helps him take what he's thinking in his head and be able to like put it somewhere else and like enunciate's not the right word, but translate it from his head to paper, essentially, or in this case, it's not paper but screen.
And just speaking from personal experience, I would like my first movie review ever I was working for a news station doing a movie blog on their website, and I had watched Transformers 3. And yeah, I totally remember like thinking what I wanted to say about the movie and having trouble like writing that. And that's definitely a skill that you kind of develop over time. Translate those thoughts onto the page. And even out of the mouth is a challenge, as we can see as we bumble through these podcasts.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. For sure.
All right, if you'd like us to answer any of your questions, make sure to send us one of those emails to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast at gmail.com.
Or you can hit up our Facebook page. There's a button that'll just let you click and send us an email. You can comment there. If please send us feedback. Please come on and like lambaste me for saying that this movie that's considered really good was a pile of shit, or say that you agree with me and that it's overrated, or one of our old movies, whatever. It's fine. Pick one, and or ask us questions. Some stuff you want to know, whether it's about us or what we think about movies. We would love to hear from you guys. It actually makes us really happy when we do. So please do.
Absolutely. So Joey, why do we do this show?
Because we love talking about movies.
Good night.
Good night.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non mi piace il feeling. Spirito salty.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.